The goal behind this project is to talk to fathers and get their perspective from each role that we've played. Right? So you've played a son, you've played a father, and now you've played a grandfather. Now, we're going to start with who is he before the title. All right, so Pastor, if you don't mind, could you state your name?
Pastor Eugene Norris.
And where are you from?
Akron, Ohio.
Hey, what's our relation?
You know, it's interesting. I call you a bonus. You know, I got the privilege of marrying your mom, whom I love, but along with that, I got a bonus of 4 sons, and you're the oldest, and I cherish that relationship.
So before all of that, right, I call you Pastor, right? But there was a lifetime before you and I, met.
Right.
So who were you before it was Pastor, before you were father? Who were you as a little boy?
That's interesting. When I think back on that, some of the more defining things that stand out in my life then, I was just a typical little kid in the neighborhood, grew up on the west side of Akron, and typical types of community around that time where everybody's family was your family. Very large family in that area, the Hunters family and the Parkers next to us and so forth. But I had to find my footing in there because I had a brother, but he was much older than me. And then I had 5 sisters. So I kind of had to find my footing in there. And I was a typical kid, climbing trees, doing stuff I shouldn't have been doing and so forth. And but just typical young man growing up in the community.
Yeah, and I was out here in Akron.
I was in Akron.
What part of Akron?
On the west side.
West
On
side.
the west side. I grew up on Winton Avenue.
Okay.
Down past Diagonal Road, getting closer to Hawkins.
Yeah.
And that's when this was really kind of a real solid kind of a neighborhood. It was a diverse neighborhood. And, working class community. The men worked at the factories or in construction and things of that nature. You saw a lot of dads, which is unusual. But you saw a lot of dads in the community. And good solid homes, typical family, 3 to 4.
Around year, what year?
Years around that time?
Yeah.
We're looking at in the early 60s and so forth.
Okay.
Yep, early 60s.
Yeah, Akron was an interesting place around that time. We had a lot going.
Rubber capital of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, rubber capital of the world. That's where you wanted to be.
What did your home feel like growing up? What do you remember the most?
To me, it was a typical home, but it changed up for me because now my dad was an octogenarian, so he was older, trying to raise us, and so we didn't connect. But it wasn't a negative thing. It was just that hey, he was working, trying to come home and take care of things. He had a garden, had a truck, had over a couple of acres out in Copley where he would be out there. We just could not connect on the Copley in the gardening piece. But one thing that happened to me, I think that, no question, set the course for my life was I was around 11 years old, and my sister married into a pretty prominent African-American family in this community, the Parms family. And they owned a dry cleaner. They were civil rights attorneys. That was their biggest thing. But they were professionals, really prominent in our community. And I asked Bruce, which is the one my sister married, could I work for him at the cleaners? I was 11 years old kid, and and my sister pushed it. Give him a chance, give him a job. Probably the best thing ever happened to me. I had never been around that much money, so when I first got up there, I was, I just take some of this with me, And instead of Bruce firing me and knocking my little butt out, he just kept me in there and helped me to understand the value of running a business and working for your own people in that community, and those customers were valuable to you and your surroundings. You don't leave trash around, you pick it up. You learn how to use this. He made me learn all these tools in his toolbox, how to work on big machinery and so forth, understanding pulleys and all of that. And I didn't know how valuable that was going to be for me. I've used it even as late as today, teaching a class on things of that nature. So that was a valuable time for me. It kept me out of trouble. A lot of my friends were getting involved in drugs and alcohol and things of that nature. I worked 5 days a week as soon as I got out of school. Go to the cleaners, had to clean up, learn about the chemicals in there, learn about the clothing, whole 9 yards. And no question that kept me from getting into things that could have been, no question, destructive for my life.
Did you realize that in that time period?
Oh no, didn't appreciate it. Didn't even know to appreciate that until later on. Happened when I became a firefighter. Did that. A friend told me about it, and but that was one of our prouder moments because my parents just loved it because. I would, when I got on the fire department, I could drive the truck past their house, and it sounded like a train, so I could pull the horn. The whole neighborhood come running outside because here I come down the road driving the fire truck down there. But I learned the value of it later because a friend of mine at that time, Ed Parms, Attorney Parms, was fighting for the opportunity for African Americans to get on the police department, all the safety forces. And so my family's very proud of the fact that I was able to get on there. And I just took it because of the money and the opportunity. I had the second highest score on the test and to get on there. And so, but I didn't realize that happened because they have a mechanical aptitude test on there that most African American men could not pass because they didn't know about the tools, they hadn't used that stuff, and it was done purposely, to be quite honest. They tried to fire a friend of mine because they asked him to go into a toolbox and pick up a crescent wrench, and he had no idea what that was, so and it showed me something. We fought in him being able to stay on there, but it showed me how important it is for somebody to take a young child and teach them everything you know. Teach them about the cars, teach them about your tools, teach them everything you know, because later on it's very valuable to them.
Wow. That hits hard in terms of like teaching your son about tools. Right? That's so simple.
Yes.
But I can see how that can get overlooked. I mean, even in my own life, I think to now in terms of me being a father and like, what do I know? And the things that pop up, these questions that the kiddos have. And it's some questions I don't have the answers to, but
I always say, teach your kids everything you know.
Yeah.
Teach it to them.
That's
Even
big.
in your level, what you're doing and your technology and building, and teach them everything.
So you kind of answered this, but I want to dig a little deeper. Who was your father to you? The full picture of the man. And what was his name, by the way?
My father's name was James Norris. Didn't have a middle name. And he was actually an orphan. And so he didn't really know his family. And so family was important to him. He was more sensitive. Most people have probably never seen me cry, but my dad would cry at a heartbeat. He was very sensitive like that. But like I said, he was octogenarian. He was older. And so, and
What
here
exactly is octogenarian? What does that mean?
Oh, say for instance, you're 60 years old and I got Taj or little Taj or little man.
Yeah.
Those are my kids.
Right.
And so he had to raise me particularly like that. And he was older. He's working and going to work and so forth, 50 years old, and you got these little kids here. And so that brought a little bit of distance, not purposely. He tried to tie me into what he was about, which was him working. He always believed in, if you're a young man, you need to have a car. You got to have a little money in your pocket. And so he always gave me a car. It might have been a piece of a car, but he always believed in you having a car. And so I appreciated that about him. He did what he could and what he knew as a dad. But he grew up in the South. I found out later on he was actually a cowboy. Old horses, old 9 yards, did all that. We've never had them, and I've never ridden a horse, even to this day. But I learned that from his aunt. From his former wife's sister.
Okay.
Really told me about that, helped me to appreciate him a whole lot more. But we didn't connect a lot, but one of my proudest moments were with him, though. I played basketball because my brother-in-law, Bruce, he had a basketball team, so I was on the basketball team. And I was as tall as I am now in middle school. I was 6 foot.
Okay.
So, I looked like I could do it. But, that's looking and doing is two different things,
Right.
And so I remember being on Lawton Street, and I'm down there, and, they said I could wipe the glass. And because I was so tall and I could jump high, I could dunk the ball in. And I could get the rebounds, but putting it back up there is a different story.
Right.
So, but one time I remember I'm at the top of the key, they passed the ball to me. I turned around, I traveled probably, and they didn't say anything. I shot the ball, it went in. I was so excited, but I looked up and there was my dad sitting up there. And that moment, even to this day, just stands out to me as one of my prouder moments. I have a lot of tremendous memories with him. But that was one of the prouder ones because he took the time to get there because he worked all the time. He was tired, working a garden, working a truck. Men did what they did back in that day to take care of their families. And he was like that. He had a truck where he went and picked up what we call rubbish. He had a garden where he planted food. He would always tell my mom she had flowers, and he said, I'd never worked that hard on something that I couldn't eat, so he believed if I would put it in there, we're gonna eat this dude. So he put that kind of ethic in me. Unfortunately, I didn't pick that up. I know he would have loved my wife because he had chickens. He had all kinds of stuff out there, and he wanted a little partner, to do that. And I just couldn't connect with him, but he would love my wife.
When did he pass?
He passed actually, wow, it's been over 20 years now.
Okay.
And I remember, it's interesting, I left Ohio to go to Oklahoma, but I knew it was at the leading of God, and because my faith is very important to me, to turn my life around. But I remember asking God, I said, okay, Lord, I knew he wanted me to leave and go to Oklahoma. And I said, okay, Father, and I'm not saying hearing voices, God speaks to your heart. And so, but I heard him, and I told him, I said, well, Lord, I said, if I go and I found this out, if you do things God tells you, you can ask him stuff. It's just like if somebody's helping me clean out my garage and they say, wow, I see these dumbbells. You mind if I had those? Yeah, you get them. God is like that. Yeah. I said, Lord, if I go to Oklahoma, can I do this? I had never traveled at that time. I said, can I go to California, Texas? I wanted to come back and host the Trinity Broadcasting Network. I wanted my dad to live till he was 80 years old, and I wanted to go back to my high school and speak. He did every single one of them.
Very clear.
Yeah, he did every single one of them without me prodding or coaxing or anything. But so I remember that my dad passed away when he was 80 years old. And a month after his birthday, I was upset about it, and the Lord brought back to my remembrance what I said. And so okay, he's up there and he's good. But he was a good man, humble man, quiet spoken type of person. And back then parents didn't connect like I'm seeing parents are willing to do now, where you really talk with your kids about things that mean something to you. We were close. You don't see each other cry. You don't do this. You toughen up and so forth. But I have a lot of appreciation for him.
What did you carry from your childhood into manhood that you didn't even realize you were carrying?
A lot of it, again, circles back to me working in that business environment with strong African-American males, Bruce Parms, Edwin Parms, Johnny Parms, Paul Parms, because these were men in my life. And I had girls, and I always spent time with my girls because Edwin always had his girls with him. I call people young man right now to this day because he always addressed somebody as a young man. I learned that as a kid. And I laugh now when I hear people say it, because even like Rico, I heard him call somebody a young man before, and it just kind of laugh because it's just passing on that legacy that Ed Parms put into me. And just to understand that you represent something as an African-American male. They taught me that as a kid, taught me how to speak properly. And you don't swear and you don't do this, you act professional, because they had a professional business. And that has translated into many things that I've done to get involved in your community. They made me care about my community and making the kind of connections that were meaningful. Have had a chance to be presidents, done all sorts of things, but it started with Ed Parms. He made me, as a little kid in high school, work on a presidential election. And I was invited to some inaugural ball. I didn't even know what it was. Didn't go, didn't have any idea what it was. Invited to an inaugural ball as a kid. So those things that I've learned to make those connections and to be in the room, they taught me that. Go to the meetings and know what's going on in your community and care about it.
That's huge, and I think these are massive gems for an 11-year-old to start to gain. Was there a moment where you started to see your father clearly? I know you just mentioned that there was a different type of connection that we have with our fathers and mothers than you did. What was that moment when you started to see him as a man, not just like a child seeing their father?
Interesting, and it made me respect him even that much more, because at that time I was older then, high school and all that. You're high school, you think you know everything, all that. But there were things that happened that helped me appreciate him that much more. And the fact that he was glad to see me take my life to a different level. I remember I was in college and I came home telling him I knew something about a little bit of everything. He just started laughing, and I understand now because, I'm in the library, staying there from morning till night, just reading. And, but as I got older and I learned to appreciate what he brought to the table, and that he appreciated what I was doing. Like I said, they were very proud when I became a fireman because they could see that, You know, everybody knew it. There weren't that many African Americans on the department then. And then when I got into ministry and seeing me on television programs, and I never will forget when I bought my first car. It was a nice vehicle. I bought it off my brother. It was a 442 convertible, powder blue This thing was bad. And I never will forget it. I kept it clean. But they built a pad for my car in front of their house, so it would just sit out there. And one day they took the keys and let the top down, and my mom and dad took it and left. That was such a happy moment for me, though.
Oh.
To think they out here driving this convertible around because they wanted to do it and it was mine. To me, that's like saying thank you for all that he did. You know, like I said, he believed in giving man I'd have a car. And so I don't even know if I ever told him that, but I was so proud of the fact that they drove to their friend's house in my car because it was clean.
Yeah.
Had the big 60 series tires they had on it at the time, and it was waxed up and white convertible top. I would drive down the road and stop at a light and hit the top of it, just coming back so people could see it. But to know that meant something to him. And then the treasures, he gained his faith and started going to church after I did. I was really kind of the first one in our family to move in that direction, but he embraced it and started attending church and became a deacon. And by chance, and give glory to God, I had a chance. He didn't even know I was coming. He was being ordained as a deacon. Just showed up. And so traditional, you know, for another pastor to come on, they bring you in the back with the pastors. That's our dap it up time. Hey, what's going on, Doc? All that kind of stuff. And they said, you know, one of the pastors is missing, and we need another pastor on this board. I said, Norris, can you do it? I know your dad's on there, so he didn't even know it. So here comes the dais that's going to ordain him as a deacon, and I'm one of them. And, you know, my job is to ask him questions to see if he got him right. And, of course, he got him right. I don't care if he said Jesus' mother's name was Lucy. Yes, correct, you know. So, but to me, those special times like that helped me to appreciate him and understand he wasn't going to be able to embrace everything that I did.
Yeah.
He didn't really understand about really having faith and knowing that God can do it, and don't just embrace just what's in front of you. God has something even better. Yeah. But when he couldn't do it, the Lord said, you meet him where he is. You meet him where he is. Don't try to push him past that.
That's incredible.
And so that was something I appreciated.
And did you have any intention on the type of father that you wanted to be outside of just spending time? Before your first daughter, did you say, like, when I'm a father, I'm going to do this? Or, like you said, did you just start doing the thing and then you refined it as you...
Yeah, that's the latter, no question. Didn't even went into that part of my life. And when I say that, I mean being married, because I was married when I had my kids. Went into it not understanding that, you know, you get together with somebody, something's going to happen here. And all of a sudden, a couple of months later, you're expecting. That wasn't on my plan and so forth. And would have probably done that different, waited a little bit longer and so forth, but they were here. And so I took that time to do that, but I had to build it while I was going. Didn't really, like I said, the instruction book I did have was from my brother-in-laws and so forth, and that was just seeing them there and spending that time and teaching. So that was my thing. You teach them, you spend that time.
Right.
And it was almost kind of a scripted thing, not where I just sat back and really meditating on the fact, what am I going to do with my girls? It was, here's what you do here.
Are you proud of the father that you were?
I don't look back on it with regrets, in the sense of I should have spent more time. I was definitely there, even though that marriage didn't last. Well, they ended up being with me because they were first. You know, I know, and I was single at the time. You know, ladies see you and they say, "Oh, that's so cute, you with your girls." No, they didn't know I was serious. You know, if I don't care if we're on a date, if the girls call me, I got to go. You know, and stop. They were a priority. And I'm glad I did that. I learned things along that time. I had to learn as my kids were growing up and getting direction from the Word of God, actually, and from God. Because I remember my girls had gotten into high school at the time, and they started going to the left. One of them came home with not tattoos, but earrings everywhere, and places I wouldn't even want to talk about, but she had them there. And then the other one was just seemingly not getting focused. I remember saying, Lord, I said, what am I going to do with these girls? He said, one of them, the youngest one, he said, talk to her. Give her instructions. And I mean, it was like, you go to this school, you take this job, you don't do this. She did it and had turned her life around. He said, the other one, she's going to be the prodigal son. but just let her do it. She'll be back home. And she did. She's been over to Arabia and Baghdad, all kinds of places. And she was a driver for one of the officers and really had some challenges in her life. I mean, telling us how we're sitting at dinner and she's talking about her experience over there. Say, yeah, they throw their kids in front of us and we'd have to just drive over.
Yeah, she was military.
Yeah, you know, you like, you stop eating, like, what'd you just say?
Yeah.
And took her a long time to come out of that, but it was just like he said. Now she's solid believer, serving him, really turned her life around. And I mean, they're not perfect, you know, like they're just people. But the other one's the same way, you know, still to this day, talk to her today. Do this, do this, do this, giving her that instruction. So it was still me growing in that. But I've learned some things, though, as I was growing, because I started finding out there were so many dads that were not connecting with their kids. Yeah. And, you know, I'm a development guy, so I would write proposals for people. Somebody asked me to write a proposal so he can work with fathers. So I banged it out for him. He got funded. I said, well, what do you mean fatherhood and so forth? And he said, well, I work with dads on getting them back connected with their kids and help me to do the data to find out how many fathers were not with their kids and what that meant when they were not there, the impact that it had on people that were incarcerated and the impact it had on young ladies where they didn't feel protected because the father wasn't in their lives. And he asked me a question kind of similar to what you're asking me. He said, he said he did this in one of the sessions. He said, I put a chair out there and he said, I want you to talk to your father right now. Said a couple of guys got up crying, took the chair, threw it, angry, because they didn't realize the significant role as a father that they played in their lives. And it wasn't even about money and so forth. It's just letting you know that I'm important to you, important enough for you to spend time with me. And so I really started delving into the data and started working with fathers. I actually started a program called Fame Fathers to work with dads on getting them back connected with their kids. And my thing was you need to be committed, involved, and a responsible father.
What's something your kids taught you that the pulpit didn't?
And I thought that's an interesting question. At the pulpit, now when you say pulpit, I understand you mean my faith.
The larger piece of it, yeah.
Be honest, I would honestly, for me, most of the things that I've learned from them or was able to interact with them with, it was in the Word of God. Okay. It was in there. I can't think of an area that I can say, well, it wasn't addressed here somehow in the Word of God. I mean, it tells your fathers, it's for fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, because you will cause them to be disheartened. So I learned that from the Word of God. And when I saw that, okay, I knew to back off of that area. And, you know, train up your child in the way they should go, and when they're older, they will not depart. I learned that from the Word of God. So go ahead on and train them. They may not act like it all the time, but give that to them anyway. Teach them how to bless the things you set your hands unto and have confidence in that. So I can't really say that they taught me that, but I saw the reflection of it in the Word of God. So I at least had an idea how to move in that space with it.
Were you able to, I mean, I know you've been on a spiritual walk for a long time and you are a good study when it comes to the Bible. Were you able to immediately see the reflection of what you read in the Bible and how that was being acted out in real time?
No, but the Bible tells you that too, though. And that's what happens as you learn it. You understand there's seed, time, and then the harvest. There's always that time in it, and most of us don't like the time part. But you plant those seeds, and you know over time you'll see it come up. You know, Jesus said this. He said, if you don't get this principle, you won't get any of them. He said, a sower sows the word, and then as he sowed it, it falls on different types of ground. Our kids are different types of ground, some stony, some thorny, some by the wayside. And how they adapt to that or how they receive it determines how that crop or how that fruit is going to come forward. And so when you see that, you understand that. I know that as a pastor, when I'm speaking, you know, there's 4 types of ground out there. I got stony ground, good ground, by the wayside, and thorny ground. And the good ground, you're only going to get 30, 60, and 100-fold of that. So you're never going to get everybody. But when it goes out there, you know, they're going to begin to grab it and grasp it. But relating it back to what you said with my kids, the word tends to give me what I was seeing. You know, it wasn't like, okay, Lord, I don't understand this. You know, the kids are tripping because you see it in the Word of God. You know, you'll see an example of it there. And what you can do if that is happening, well, how did this person respond to it? Dave is a good example of it. He had all of his kids. His life was, he wasn't a perfect man like nobody in there. You'll find out, which is really encouraging. But you see in his son's lives, they picked up traits, and there were some things that caused them to fall. I was sharing with my wife today that, we were talking about someone's life or a life, and talked about how not being disciplined as a man and being led by your glands more so caused a man that was strongest man probably there was physically, which was Samson. He was able to pick up 2 cars, we would like it. The Bible said he picked up 2 gates from the city, carried the top of the hill. That's like carrying 2 cars. He was that strong. And but he was willing to give it up or lose it over not being disciplined in that area. Lost his sight, lost all of that. So it helps you to see, okay, learn from this. Learn from this, see this and learn it so you don't have to do it. So I think that's where it fitted in with me. I was able to see it in the Word of God. And if I'm wise enough, but oh man, please, that's a whole nother program talking about mistakes, but seeing where it does fit in there to help you to maneuver those situations.
Were there seasons where the callings, your 2 callings, like as a father and as a pastor, that they pulled, that they tugged or created tension?
And I would probably want to ask my daughters that more so, because to me, they didn't. I never put the ministry in front of them, but ministry was always very important to me. But sometimes I forget about the fact that what they have to deal with. Your dad's pastor, your dad's reverend, your dad's this, and not understanding sometimes what they deal with in that. I didn't think for a long time, I realized, in fact, there was considered a PK, preacher's kid. And so they put more pressure on them. They expect you to do this, or you should know this. And, he's the preacher, not me, and so forth. So that'd be a question I want to ask them. To me, I didn't change as a result of that. They realize I don't compromise on my faith, though. What you see on Sunday, that's what you see on Monday and Tuesday, too. I'm not something in the pulpit and I'll come home and I'm this tyrant and crazy acting at home. Nope, what you see was what you're going to get there. So
I'm sure that gave them some type of confidence. I think we know that sometimes that's not the case.
Absolutely.
For PKs, and I think that might put more pressure on them. But you should ask them that. I would love to know.
I would. I like to. You bring up a thought there. How did they feel about it? They may tell you a whole different story.
Yeah, I mean, for real. All right, so what's something that I know you say you don't look back with regret. Is there anything you do differently?
Oh man, yes I do. I got a lot of regrets.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
So which direction you want to go in? I'm sorry.
So more so as a father, right? Is there anything that you can nail down? This is if I would do this differently. This is something that stands out. It doesn't have to be the whole list.
And it's not. Oh, that's different because that one's not quite as long. Regrets in life is a different story. But with the kids, I probably would have waited. I would have waited. I wouldn't have done it as soon.
How old
would have
were
went
you?
on and got to. I was in my 20s. I was probably about 21.
Okay.
When I had my kids, and that's not young. I mean, super young, but it was young for me. I would have rather waited, got a little more solid on where I was going with my career, and so forth, and probably went in a little different direction.
Yeah.
But that changed the direction. Once they're here, that's priority. So I had to put the priority there. So I think I would have changed that.
Yeah.
Not having the same kids and all that. Nah. Praise God for what He blessed me
Absolutely.
with. But
Absolutely.
I think that would have been it. Just kind of pushing back on that.
Is there a moment with one of your kids that stays with you that you think about often?
Let me see. I don't know if it would be often, but I think about it. And it's the one I mentioned earlier, when I asked God, what can I do with my girls?
Right.
Because I'm out here running around doing my thing, and I stopped and asked Him, and He said, take time to talk to the youngest one, and seeing how she responded and what it did for her life when that happened. I never forgot that. And the same with the oldest one. I mean, I've called the police on her and everything else. She stole my car going all over the place. And I go to the stream sometimes. I called the police on them. They knew what I was doing. They said, oh, yeah, we know what to do. And but she's turned her life around. We go to lunch on Fridays every chance we get. Was just at house 3:30 this past weekend. But I remember those times that I've seen this young lady grow up with her stumbles, both of them, in their lives. But I remember those times, and I cherish them now because they're older and can relate more to, what we're dealing with as adults. But I think the things that stand out were those times I took the time to talk with them.
Absolutely.
And I guess if I was looking at a time that's another good memory, interesting, away in school in Oklahoma, and my youngest daughter was so small, I had to tie her bike on the back of my bike and, ride her around the big parking lot. We didn't have a lot of money, so we just, we made fun. We go to Sam's Club and get the samples they had, and they thought that was just the greatest thing, sitting in the cart. And but I never will forget, I had a job down there, and tremendous job. I'm plant manager at this place. They gave me 2 trucks. Trucks are the things in Oklahoma. Gave me 2 trucks and a sedan, and I would take my daughters to the bakery every weekend. We'd go to the bakery and get them these donuts and so forth. And I never forget, I'm driving this car, and my oldest daughter said, "Dad, the donut was this big. You got to see it was this big." So I turned around and boom, ran into this limousine, of all things too. And the guy had just came to our Bible. It was a limousine for a funeral home. He had just came from the Bible college I was attending, speaking to us. And so, and it was kind of hard for me to hide, because you got
I got you.
But I never forget those little times like that. But the times being at the parades with them and seeing them do things, those would stick with you,
What do you want your children to say about you? Not at a funeral or, but if I was to talk to them right now, what would you, I guess I don't want to say what do you want them to say, but what do you think they would say?
That's a good question. What do you want them to say more so? I want them to say that we know our dad loved us and he was in our corner. I'd want them to know that and I notice I'm a little freer with them, being direct and talking with them, even more so than with my bonus kids. I'll tell them, say, no, you just really straight up with them and honest with them and so forth. And hopefully they appreciated that. They've already told me, and I think they would miss me as a father, because, and it's an unfortunate thing, because I've seen where dads have not been there where they needed to be.
Yeah.
And having one there just means so much. And I found out again, like I said, it's not always the money, it's the willing to take the time and be in their lives. And that's more valuable to them. Just the TIME, spending the time. They were important enough for you to call them, to reach out to them, to spend time to talk with them. And I'm hoping those are the things they remember, as well as to be no question for me, they knew that my faith was real. And it wasn't just to put on, and it was something they saw, not only me talking about it, but seeing it demonstrated and the benefits of it in my life.
Absolutely. Do you think the definition of good father, your definition of good father, changes, or has it changed?
To me, a good father is a father that, number one, and it seems kind of a scripted thing, but I learned it and taught it to my dads in the program. I said, you got to be responsible, committed, and involved. Be responsible. That's your child. Put your name on the birth certificate. Be the man and be there. Be responsible. Be committed. Be committed when they need something. You don't babysit your own kids. Those are your kids. Be at the school with them. Be committed. Let them know that you're involved in there. Responsible, committed, and involved. And those things, to me, if you do those, it's summed up in really one word. You're just loving your kids. You're just loving them. That's all it is. Yeah, you hear me say this, responsible, committed, and involved. But and involved means it involved financially, where you realize it's expensive raising a kid, even if they're not with you. You got to give it, hey, let them know that you're out there. But that's not enough. I gave you a couple $100 this month or next month, so I don't need to be there. No, you need to be there. So to me, that definition just transcends time. Being part of your kids' lives, be there for them, responsible, committed to them, and involved. Every chance you can. And you see that in the word. Abraham, as old as he was, the Bible says he was 90 years old and had a son. And but he was involved in his son's life. And it was him finding a white wife and so forth was so important to him. So those things, to me, they don't change. You see that all through the word
now,
and history.
I guess I want to not pushback necessarily, but just give context. You don't think it would change? I like those 3 pillars. But what if someone's incarcerated? What if someone is in the military? Certain things aren't as accessible.
It's interesting. I worked in a facility. Well, what happened? I had to speak at one. My job, I put the program together, here's your money, and I'm gone. But the state of Ohio had a fatherhood program, and the director over it, he knew me, I was a pastor, he figured I should be able to speak. He asked me, he said, Pastor, you mind going down to this correctional facility, speak to this graduating class of dads? And so went down there, and we ran a program there called Inside Out Dads.
Okay.
And Inside Out Dads showed them how they could connect with their kids. And I'm not talking about the ones that's going to be getting out in a couple of months. I'm talking about you got some time.
Yeah.
That writing your kids, doing what you can where you are. There's always something you could do, even if the mom is upset with you and doesn't want it. Now, extenuating circumstances could be there. You did something pretty damaging to the mom, you may have really fractured that.
Yeah.
But if you're in there and you care about your kids, sending them things, sending them a letter, this is what's going on, never forgetting their birthdays or special days, just sending something. There's always something you can do. Now, I realize there can be some barriers out there, and unfortunately, sometimes it could be the mom, and that's sometimes challenging to overcome. But no, if you're incarcerated, this is what we talk to dads. You're here, write them something, send them something. When I was there, I spoke in this facility, and it's interesting. Went down there, and had never really been in a maximum security facility before, So I'm going down to Mansfield, Ohio, and here's all of a sudden to the left of me is Shawshank. It's not called Shawshank, it's Mansfield Reformatory, where they filmed Shawshank. I jump out, I'm taking pictures, come to find. Now this facility over here said, hey, they came over the speaker. You don't take no pictures down here. I'm not realizing they think I could be casing the place out. So, okay, put that down, go inside, and going up to speak. So they being really callous and cold. And okay, we need to. I said, nah, they didn't tell me that. I said, if I got to do all that, I'm not going to speak to the guys. They wanted to check and see if you take something in there. It's all right. So this big door opens up, boom. Go inside here, and then boom. You got to be doing something to get this door open. And they said, see that building up there? You got to go up there. Well, what a guard said, that's going to walk with me. You walk up there. So me and a friend, that was with me. One of my guys, he was a father. I paid him to do this stuff, but they wanted me to be the speaker, keynote speaker. So I walk out there, and I'll be honest, I'm nervous because everybody looked like they, what's his name, Dwayne.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah, Dwayne The Rock. Until this happened, they said, hey, Pastor Norris. Hey, Pastor Norris. And then I realized, wait a minute, that's Philip's little son. That's Mike's little son. That's my guy from the neighborhood. Unfortunately, this is where they were. It just took all that away. Went on up there, met with the guys, and just so happens I'm speaking to this graduating class of dads, and room's full. These men are talking about letters that they did and so forth. And so at the time, I had the resource, because I handled the dollars. I said, every one of you that graduated, I'm going to send your kid a gift card from JCPenney's, $50 from you, because you graduated from this class. But that happened because they took this time and the steps to do something. So there's always something you can do. And I realize, like I said, sometimes you can fracture it so bad that it may take a little longer, or you can even fracture sometimes you may not be able to, but hopefully that doesn't happen. But even if you're incarcerated, if you're in the military, send them something. Let them know you're thinking about them.
Yeah.
Let them know you think about them. Maybe older, when they look at that card, say, wow, this is my dad when he was over in Germany, or he was here, he thought about me, and so forth. But it's that thinking about them and taking the time, letting them know they're important. So I think there's always something you could do.
Yeah. So last question for you. What does Father's Day mean to you?
To me, and particularly after I got myself more involved in the fatherhood initiative and working with that, I don't even go with Father's Day anymore. I take that whole month. We call it Father's Month, and really try to celebrate dads. The dads that are taking the time to be with their kids, the dads that are holding it down, the ones that are getting out there working, taking care of their homes and being what they should be as a father, and getting together with other fathers and finding out how we can change that trajectory on some things that's going on in our community. We're seeing all the shooting and things of that nature. Let's talk with the dads. It's interesting. during, I started something in our county called the Father's Walk, where only thing we did, the third Thursday after school got started, I said, I want all dads to walk your children to school, even though nowadays it's more dropping them off in the car and say, that's fine, just do that. But it got so large, the mayor would get involved, the governor's office, but it just started me sitting there saying, hey, let's do a Father's Walk. All these African-American males up there. I've never seen kids look so proud before because all their dads, some of them had shorts, some of them had suits, some of them were every ethnicity you could think of, but their dad was there. And if they didn't have a dad there, I asked my guys on the safety forces, if you're a fireman, you come up here, if you see a kid going by himself, you walk in there with your uniform on. I want them to see that. Or there's police officers with them, or sheriff's department guys with them. And the other thing that I saw, not only what it meant to those kids, but a principal, in fact, she attends this church we're in right now, and she was crying. And I thought, oh man, I know one of the kids did something. How dads are, boy, I told you. I figured he slapped him down and they got to call the cops on him in school. She said, no, Pastor Norris. She said, we didn't have one discipline problem today because all these dads, all they were doing was just walking around. They wasn't, they wasn't doing what they could do. They were just walking around being there. Their presence just quelled all of that and just had such an impact. So to me, that's what Father's Day mean. Fathers just being present, being out in our communities and being there, because you don't have to say a lot. You don't have to be as eloquent as others, or you just be there. Like I said, some had shorts on, some had dreads, you name it, all sorts of dads, but it had an impact, and it impacted every school we went to. Every school was like that. So to me, that's what it means to me, doing something to celebrate these fathers that's doing it. A father that's taking care of the kids, driving several hours to make sure they get the kids and coming back. Could say, now I'm tired, I don't feel it. Nope, but they doing it. To me, it's celebrating them and not just one day. I mean, we love our moms, and I'm not taking anything away from that. But dads, sometimes they get the interesting, well, I laugh because there was a funny part in there, wasn't we did a thing where the prisoners in a correctional facility could send cards to their moms. They couldn't get enough cards to give to the guys, to send out to their moms. But when it came to dads, very few. You had to get rid of the cards, to be quite honest. Because they had such a bitterness because the dads were not there, to share in their lives. So we didn't even need the cards. So to me, it's that time to celebrate those fathers that's holding it down and that's understanding the significant role they play in the lives of not just their kids, every young man or every young lady that sees you. A father that's walking in the store and you see him with their kids, that means something. People may not realize it, but it does.
I appreciate you taking this time with me, Pastor.
Oh man, I appreciate the opportunity.